Welcome to the Hawthorns. You probably can't quite see it, but Paddy Davitt there in the far right is currently interviewing Daniel Farker, following Norwich City's 1-1 draw here at the Hawthorns. By the way, cracking place, cracking ground this. Been here a few times, fortunately, as a fan and as a reporter. It's a cracking place to come and watch football. And it was in fine fettle, actually, for what has felt like a proper game of football for Norwich City in terms of their season and of course their hopes and dreams and all those things. A proper game of football, and actually when you distill it, we haven't had many of these away from home in a while, and I'm probably missing some, but Sheffield United, Ipswich, the Derby of course, and other games tending to come a bit earlier in the season. But yeah, proper game and a proper point. This is a fantastic point that Norwich City have claimed right here, because they were behind to Dwight Gale's cute little strike after 12 minutes, I think it was, in a first 20 minutes where they were basically overrun, outplayed and dominated by a West Brom side who, of course, looking for an immediate return to the Premier League. They were a side that looked physically superior, stronger, they looked fitter, they looked like men, whereas Norwich kind of looked like the young, inexperienced team that you could say they look like on paper. West Brom, obviously, they're expensive, they have a load of Premier League experience, they are on a different level, and they were in those first 20 minutes, and it showed. And I think part of that was due to the way that Albion set up. They made things difficult for Norwich in terms of playing out from the back. They harried them in the right areas, and Norwich just sort of capitulated under that early pressure. And in truth, given the weight of that pressure, it could have probably been 2 or 3-0 down, and other Norwich sides would have fallen foul of that. I'm pretty sure of it. As it happens, this Norwich side didn't. They dug in, they did extremely well, and gave themselves a platform that they could build from. Later on, we saw some of that in the first half. Norwich just grew into it as the game wore on. They were able to move the ball into better spaces and just had a bit more composure on the ball, so they weren't being harried as hard. Because West Brom weren't snapping at them, but they were just in the right place. It was like they knew where to stand. I assume they haven't been spying training. So we saw some traits in the second half of the first half that Norwich were growing into it, and then the second half was really even. Both sides had chances, had good spells of possession as well. I think in truth, West Brom created better opportunities more often, and certainly Tim Krul was the busier goalkeeper. And for the second away game running, and therefore second league game running, he made some brilliant saves to ensure Norwich took away a point. A lot of people will focus on his distribution today, but I do feel a lot of that came also from how West Brom was setting it up. It reduced the margins for Krul to hit his passes, and it meant that Norwich should have been doing something slightly different, and eventually they did. And what they did is they moved the ball quicker. They started. They had much more fluency in their 11, which kind of pulled West Brom out of their own positions and just moved them around enough to create more spaces, because Norwich were imposing their shape and patterns of play onto West Brom, and of course with that they kept the ball and used it. You can't move around and move a team around if you're not keeping the ball, so it all kind of came together. Basically Norwich just played better as well, and that helped them negate the things that West Brom had kind of imposed on them in the first 20 minutes. I think a point is probably a fair result, if I'm honest. As I said, Dwight Gale's was a lovely, cute finish from a Mason Holgate cross. Mason Holgate on loan from Everton, I believe, off the top of my head, and he looks a very good player, and I'm sure we he's well known about, of course, but on seeing him in the flesh, yeah, he looks a proper player at this level. He will do very well, and that kind of emphasises what West Brom are. They're a side that should finish in the top 2. If Norwich City finish in the top 2 this season, it will be remarkable that they've pipped West Brom to it. I thought Darren Moore would prove something of a weak link, and I'd likened a lot of their early season inconsistencies to what Norwich had to deal with under Neil Adams. And that it may still be that those inconsistencies cost them the top 2, but clearly they've got a lot of strength, depth, power and talent at their disposal. That said, Norwich did get their equaliser. They got it 7 minutes from time, and also 2 minutes after Kenny McLean and Jordan Rhodes were introduced, both at the same time. Norwich's final 2 substitutions, and it was just down here, in fact. Kenny McLean's free kick was cut out, second cross first time effort is a beauty, and a really clever, intelligent finish from Jordan Rhodes that possibly Sam Johnstone should have saved, but he didn't. And the pocket of Norwich fans, I say pocket, there was more than 2,700 of them, went absolutely wild, and both sides could have won it in the end. That said, I'd say again West Brom had the better opportunities of that. And I was thinking about this before the game today. The key today is not to lose. You don't lose this game. You don't want to give your opponents, especially your promotion rivals, 3 points. Keep them to 1 if you have to. And that's why Norwich have maybe tripped up a little bit so far this season. So the fans were loving it at full time. They gave Daniel Farke a resounding reception, and all their players, because they, again, no issue with the effort at all. They really worked hard. And buoyant at the fact I know they scored second as well, which obviously helps, but flip that to the Albion fans who were booing. They weren't very happy with Tim Krul, with the referee, who was just bad in general. A couple of funny decisions in terms of possible sending off with Jay Rodriguez, although I haven't seen it again. That said, Mario Vrancic also put in quite a nasty challenge late on too. So, Darren England didn't really have a major impact on the game and did what he could. But the whole reception here for Albion, very different, and it's just an evidence of the different plight these two clubs find themselves in, certainly as the season motors into what is no doubt going to be a very important second half of the season, crucial, with a completely different feel. I think we got that today, completely different feel to what we got in the first half of the season. Obviously lots to talk about Wes Hoolahan before the game. He was started on the bench and didn't come on, which is of course a real shame for him that he didn't get to play, but there we go. He'll have his Carrow Day on at the end of early May, once the season is finished, of course. Emi Buendia started today. Jamal Lewis was back as well. Alex Tettey, a little bit rusty in patches, but great to have them back and fit. And of course, before Birmingham visit Carrow Road on Friday night, they will all have had another 4 weeks worth of training in under their belts. Likewise, Tim Closer, who's on the bench, will hopefully be fully fit, and of course Marco Stiepermann is battling his way back too. So plenty of positives from this. Norwich surviving kind of a ragged 20 minutes, and now Hernandez maybe just getting a bit caught out down here, and again Holgate proving all kinds of issues. That said, Norwich's goal came from Dwight Gale giving away a very stupid free kick, and he was actually substituted about a minute after that. And Dwight Gale's experienced enough to know that you shouldn't be making those sort of mistakes. Sometimes it's not about how old you are, is it? So yeah, great point. I'm not really sure what the table looks like, but you know what? I'm not going to worry about that. This is a tough weekend for Norwich. They've come through it. Let's see what they do next weekend against Birmingham, and we'll have a look at the table in a few weeks' time. It's like I've just turned into a footballer, but I don't really care at the moment. I'm sure it may be that Norwich have dropped out of the top 2. Don't think it really matters for the time being. And of course, that Sheffield United game is on the horizon too, as are Leeds. So there we go. That is the view from the Hawthorns. I wonder if we'll be back here next season. It's a cracking place. We'll have to see in terms of for both clubs. We will see. Loads more analysis and reaction. PinkUn.com. Enjoy your Saturday evenings. Finished here 1-1.